I've seen this storyline before. I hadn't read the article because I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But there's an individual in this article that I'm about to read that we do business with. And so it's pretty interesting from that standpoint of realtors to conservatives living in liberal areas like Seattle. Try Idaho. They're saying, give Idaho a try. Now, whenever I do an article on a podcast in Idaho, I get a lot of people from Idaho saying, and I don't blame them, keep all your liberal nonsense over there in Seattle. Don't bring it here. We don't want any more. We don't want any more change. I get that. A lot of the cities in Idaho are smaller and they've been overrun with a new wave of people trying to get the F out of Dodge for said various reasons that we focus on a lot here. In my mind, I said the Seattle Real Estate Podcast, but out loud, I'm going to say news for reasonable people. It's how you can do an edit in your head, right? So this is an interesting one. So conservatives living in liberal areas, there's literally a genre of people in the real estate industry that are set up. Hey, you want to get out of Dodge? Because all that nonsense, that critical race theory stuff, all the protesting, all the wackiness that we had in the summer of 2020, you want to get away from that? All right, we're your guys and gals. We're here to help you. So there's literally real estate agents and mortgage companies and referral systems that are set up to help said people. Let's jump on in. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of real estate companies, but I don't talk a lot about real estate because most people don't really, if you're doing that, all right, you're going to talk about interest rates and boring stuff. We talk about news for reasonable people. It's just what we're doing. Linda Navarre moved to Sandpoint, Idaho from Cleveland in 1978. Wow. When the town consisted of people in the timber industry and hippies. And they all got along because there was lots of space and weren't on top of each other. And, that's just kind of how it went. Now she barely recognizes the small resort community near the Canadian border that is quickly growing as people disenchanted with big city life move there. Many conservatives fed up with liberal politics in blue states. So I am definitely one of those people. I'm probably more middle of the road than a lot of conservatives here in Washington who are far more right of center than I am. And they are literally, if they're living in Seattle, it is not going well. I live in a suburb of Seattle. It's okay. But my friends and family that are also conservative, a lot of them are like, yeah, I went to this city and I came back and, I'm just not all that pumped to come back to the nonsense that we face here. And that's, last Thanksgiving, I went down and saw my parents in Oklahoma City, which is wildly red. And it was so nice. For me, for my other family members who are there that are not as red, it's not as nice. I think it's a real struggle. It's a real struggle bus for that kind of thing. So the division gets wider and wider, Navarre said, adding that many of the new arrivals are changing the civility of the community. My concern is there are so many people who are not nice. They're mean people. Well, they got mean because they dealt with all the nonsense and then they just take their bad attitude to you. Don't worry. It'll probably sort itself out. These people relax. They'll get into the Idaho way of living. But I get it. When you've got the hometown and it's your hometown, you don't want people to overrun your town. But, economics, it happens. Sway of people happens. People moving here. Red wave, blue wave. You got all kinds of different things going on. And Idaho definitely had a lot of people go there. I've had two different, I wouldn't say, one's a very close friend and another is more of an acquaintance from work that moved to Idaho. But I know people personally and I know relocations happening on the regular. Where are you going? Idaho. Okay. That makes sense. If that's where you want to be, You should live there. Sandpoint is a 4-season resort town built along the shores of a scenic lake. It had 7,300 residents in the 2010 census, but grew 21% in the decade to about 8,900 people in the 2020 census. So it's still not very big, but any amount of growth in a city like that, it's like, oh, where are you from? Out of town. In addition to the natural beauty, people come here because it's a red state. We're just going to get right into the heart of it. You're a red state, said longtime resident 𝐏𝐞𝐚𝐬𝐬, 67. So you've got these big shifts of people going on all across the United States. To capitalize on that trend, a growing number of real estate companies are advertising themselves to people on the right, saying that they can take them out of liberal bastions like Seattle and San Francisco and find them homes in places like rural Idaho. And that's something I often think about is if I wasn't here, if I didn't grow up here, I probably wouldn't be moving to Seattle. I would probably be moving somewhere like North Dallas, somewhere along the lines of that, because I've got friends and family down there, mainly family down there, but acquaintances and other people that I know down there. And then I'd have another spot somewhere else, but that, that's like retirement kind of stuff, right? For the time being, I am here and, we're just going to keep pooping on Seattle because that's what we do on News for Reasonable People. Sandpoint-based Flee the City is a consortium of 4 businesses that specialize in selling property to conservatives in northern Idaho and western Montana. My mortgage guy, Dan Chapman, he moved to Whitefish, Montana a number of years ago, got out of California, got out of state of Washington. He's in Montana. He loves it, but he's also like, yeah, we can't take any more people here. We've got enough people. The company, Flee the City, calls itself a real estate firm for the vigilant. Interesting. Flee the City is partnered with a company that provides sustainable homes designed with integrated ballistic and defensive capabilities. All right. Got a little hunker down going on, right? And that's okay. If that's your thing, I say go for it. We do need preppers. I need like a prepper next door to me so that they will feel like they need to share with me because we're a little bit prepped, but not like end of the world, 6 months to a year prepped. We're more like 2 weeks prepped, if that makes any sense, which doesn't really count as prepping at all. Let's be honest. Todd Savage, whose Black Rifle real estate firm is part of Flee the City, said in a small, brief email exchange for his business is booming thanks to insane left-wing politics. There you go. That is what's driving people, is insane, unreasonable left-wing politics. One of the bigger players among right-leaning real estate companies is Conservative Move. And this is who I've had direct contact with. Based in a suburb of Dallas, founder and chief executive Paul Shabbat. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Paul? We've talked on the phone and we've emailed back and forth. I had one of my real estate brokers who passed away. He was doing business with Conservative Move. And so we switched up our Conservative Move business to another one of my brokers. And that's been going well. So I've had contact with them and they're great to work with. And anybody considering making a move, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend Conservative Move if that's something you want to go down. If you don't want to figure it out yourself, where am I going to move to? Call Conservative Move. They basically, they put you through a process and they have referral agents to selling your home and to buying your home in whatever community they want. So Paul said that blue states have only themselves to blame for driving out conservatives. People are tired of out-of-control crime and forced masking, Paul said. Idaho has been the fastest growing state in the nation for 5 years running, growing 2.9% in 2021. But the influx of people to places like Idaho has made it hard for some longtime residents. You've always got that shift. And the folks that have been there since the beginning or whenever, they always feel like they're losing a sense of their identity, right? It's like, this is changing. This like my town of Bellevue, hometown of Bellevue here, has changed immensely. West Bellevue has been overrun with foreign investors, mainly Chinese. East Bellevue, wildly overrun with Indians and not Native American Indians from India. And that's because it's a little bit more affordable over here. And they work in the tech pool. They're engineers. And so, you've got massive changes going on all over. And you don't hear me railing about that. It's just what happened. All right. Chinese investors, they wanted to get their money out of China, and they went to West Bellevue because it's a great area to invest in. Your money is, for the most part, safe. And that's just what happened. So, neighborhoods get overrun. Things happen. Trends happen. And in real estate, I think, you can't get too worked up about it. But people's homes, I get that. They're like, I've been here since the beginning of time. We used to live in a cave in the back until we built this home. And, you've always got those stories. And it's like, okay, yep. Life does move on, though. And the market moves on. So you got to figure out how you're going to work your way through that. Idaho, fastest growing state in the nation. But the influx of people to places like Idaho has made it harder for longtime residents. People struggle to find housing in Sandpoint, with many houses sold the same day they are listed after bidding wars, Cameron said. Many of those homes are converted into vacation rentals, which tightens the market for people who live in the area. That's always that local struggle, enormous problem on Maui, where I've spent a lot of time historically in the past. I'm going to probably get rid of my storage unit, get rid of all my gear. And I'm just not going over there as much as I once was, which was usually about 3 times a year. Super fun. But some of the policies and some of the things going on there, I might try and head to someplace a little bit more red. I don't know. That might be something that I end up doing. Carol Knack, Associate Director of Lake Penn Waterkeeper Conservation Group, has lived in town for a year. She said the confluence of the coronavirus pandemic and politics has created a divisiveness among folks. I've been applauded and belittled for wearing a mask, she said. I have friends who refuse to get vaxxed. Well, we all got those people, right? I've got a bunch of people that are just like, you can't go out in public without a mask. Oh, yeah? Watch me. Savage was asked if it was desirable for people to segregate themselves by political ideology. Yeah, it's probably not smart, but it is what it is. And I think we all tend to kind of congregate to people that we feel a little bit more similar to. And you don't really want to plunk yourself down. Say you live in Oklahoma City and you plunk yourself right into the middle of an almost exclusively Republican neighborhood. Maybe you're a Democrat and you didn't have that all worked out before you moved there, or you didn't really know what was going on. But yeah, that tends to be a little bit tricky, right? Because there are some neighborhoods that, like Seattle, wildly blue. Yeah, you got stuff in other parts of the country wildly red. I don't agree with the term segregate, he wrote. Folks simply vote with their feet relating to issues such as crime, taxes, homeschooling, gun laws, mask and vaccine mandates, Orwellian laws, and out-of-control tyranny in the sanctuary states. That's literally what we've seen, hasn't it? That's literally what we've experienced through this pandemic. It's just a massive government overreach in areas that arguably, and sometimes not even arguably, just didn't need to happen. State of Washington, great example of that. Based on the data and the science. The data and the science. Not everyone is a fan of what Savage and conservative realtors are doing in Sandpoint and elsewhere. Mayor Shelby Rongstadt, a Democrat, worries real estate firms that serve only conservatives, pushes Idaho more and more into a playground for extremism, or just a playground for reasonable people. There's that too, right? It doesn't bode well for our sense of community here, said Rongstad, who is mounting a campaign for governor. It's a challenge to civility. Well, because you're unreasonable. That's why. I'm just going to throw that out there. That's my opinion. I'm just a podcaster. So there's that. Although I am a managing broker, so I can weigh in here. Yeah, we've got people that are living in different areas. People are like, yeah, I need to move to somewhere there. I really want to move to Capitol Hill in Seattle. And you're like, okay, all right, well, we can figure that out as well. But a lot of people, no matter which side of the equation they're on, they're not down with the crime. They're not down with the graffiti everywhere. They're not down with the break-ins. These are happening on a wildly out of control regular basis. In a lot of these communities that we're talking about, the blue communities, that has gone with the territory. I bet you that, in Sandpoint, Idaho, I bet you they don't have out of control homeless encampments. Do they? I'm going to have to research that one. Guaranteed they do not. Barbara Russell, who lives in nearby Bonners Ferry, Idaho, expressed similar concerns. Bonners Ferry feels like it's been overrun with white nationalists, said Russell, who owns a dance studio in the town of 2,600 residents. All right. What they're doing is preparing for war, Russell said of new arrivals, who often carry guns when in town. Well, it's your constitutional right. And that's part of the reason you moved to Idaho. It's because in cities like here in Seattle, you carry a gun out there. Yeah, it's not going to go all that great, right? New people are moving in and they go to city council meetings and tell people who grew up here to go back to California, Russell said. They're selling fear is what they are doing. Well, that's one person's perspective. And it makes for a good storyline in the story. But is that literally what the National Association of Realtors does not keep records of if any of its members market themselves by political ideology, spokesman Quentin Simmons said. And not all real estate agents are members of the Realtors. No, I am not. None of my brokers are. We agree to disagree to pay said dues that, other brokers pay. So we kind of let them pull that one. So it's tough to determine if the trend of targeting conservative customers is widespread. I don't think it's widespread, but it is out there if you want to engage in it. And that's kind of how I allow it to happen. Hey, if you've got a client that is interested in going down that road, all right, we can hook you up with this group. They'll handle the sale of your home. We'll handle, and you're going to move to here. Okay. So we'll have somebody that's going to handle the buy end, get you a mortgage company that's, on par. So many of these services, it doesn't matter, like escrow. It doesn't matter if your escrow person is ultra conservative or ultra liberal. They're still getting the same job done. And you're probably not having long discussions with them. And they're not going to be your best friend after the transaction is over. You might say, hey, thanks for that great job. That was really good working with you. Click. And that's going to be the end of your transaction, right? You're going to have some emails back and forth. It's not going to be this. Our escrow closer, they were walking around carrying a machine gun to the office today. It's just not like that, right? It's just the latest of several waves of politically motivated relocations to the inland Northwest. That is happening on the regular. That is a definite trend that we are seeing. And everybody knows it. Indeed, in past decades, a variety of extremist groups, most prominently the Aryan Nation, sought to create a white homeland in northern Idaho because of the region's small number of minorities. People in the United States relocate all the time, Bitt said. What concerns us is when white nationalists and anti-democracy actors relocate to the region with aim of organizing, recruiting, and seizing control of local institutions. Okay, is that really going on? Let's be reasonable. Is that happening to the extent that the media says it is? I mean, my thought is no. There has been some of that over the years, and yes, there has been a presence there, but it's not the vast majority of people that are moving there. And if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But from my perspective, you've got a lot of normal people moving to Idaho that are just tired of the politics elsewhere. They're tired of ridiculous mask mandates and things for, happening that make zero sense. Their car getting broken into, their house getting broken into, people being thrown down stairwells because repeat offenders aren't in jail, crazy homeless people doing crazy stuff out in public. You get tired of dealing with that kind of stuff. And they're like, yeah, I just want to go somewhere where I can be more reasonable. I can't blame them. All right. That's it for me on this one. Reasonable people buying stuff in Idaho. It's a thing. All right. Thanks again for being here. We'll catch up soon. Talk then. Bye for now.